Okay, let's unpack this. It is February 2026, and if you follow the AI space, you know the rhythm by now.
Oh, yeah. You know the drill.
You've got the smart, expensive models, and you have the fast, cheap ones. It's a trade-off. It has always been a trade-off.
Right. It's been the fundamental law of large language models for the last, 3 years? You pick your lane.
You either pay for a PhD to solve your problem slowly, or you get an intern to solve it quickly, but, maybe mess up the details.
Exactly.
Right. But today, we're looking at the release of Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.6. And based on our sources, the official technical release and a really dense breakdown from Geeky Gadgets, that law might have just been, well, repealed.
It's creating a bit of a categorization crisis, actually.
How so?
Well, usually sonnet implies the middle ground, but the data here suggests the middle ground just moved up to the penthouse. We have a mid-tier model that's beating the frontier flagship from just a few months ago.
You know, the stat that really stopped me in my tracks?
Yeah.
It wasn't a benchmark score. It was a preference rate.
The human feedback.
Yes. They gave this new model to developers. I mean, people building actual complex software, not just asking for recipe ideas. And 59% of them preferred this new Sonnet 4.6 over the old top-tier Opus 4.5.
And you have to remember, Opus 4.5 was the gold standard back in November 2025.
Right, just a few months ago.
So in, roughly 90 days, the budget option has overtaken the luxury option.
So that's our mission today.
Yeah.
We need to figure out how that is technically possible and, frankly, if we should believe the hype. We're going to look at three main things. First, the smart economy, how they squeeze this performance into a cheaper package. Second, this technical breakthrough they're calling adaptive thinking. And third, the part I'm most skeptical about, but also most excited for.
The vending machines.
A simulation with a vending machine empire that suggests these things can finally plan for the future.
The vending machine simulation is the sleeper hit of this whole announcement. It really challenges the idea that these models are just, predicting the next word.
Okay, we'll get to the vending machines. But let's start with the wallet. Because for a lot of businesses listening, the bottom line is the first filter. The sources say the price hasn't moved.
That's the headline. Sonnet 4.6 is priced exactly the same as the previous Sonnet 4.5. It's roughly $3 per million input tokens.
Which, compared to the $15 for the Opus line, is a huge difference.
It's massive. You're paying 20% of the price.
But usually when you pay that lower price, you accept a specific flaw. We call it laziness.
Oh, the laziness.
I think everyone listening has hit this wall. You ask the AI to refactor a massive code file or rewrite a long article, and it does the first two paragraphs and then just, puts a comment in brackets saying,
rest of text remains unchanged.
yes, or insert logic here.
And it's so infuriating. It's the model trying to save compute, which is efficient for them, but it means you have to go back and basically coax it to finish the job.
So is that fixed here?
Well, what's interesting about Sonnet 4.6 is that the user feedback explicitly calls this out as a problem they've solved.
Is that just a tuning thing? Did they just add a hidden prompt that says, don't be lazy?
It's deeper than a system prompt. It ties into what they call instruction-following architecture. There's a metric in the report where they compare Sonnet 4.6 to Sonnet 4.5 on these complex multi-step constraints.
Yep.
The preference rate there was 70%. That suggests the model isn't just willing to do the work, it's capable of holding the entire complex instruction set in its active memory without dropping the ball.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate. We've heard less lazy before. Does this actually translate to really complex tasks, or is it just chattier?
The proof is in the context window and how it uses it. The specs say 1 million tokens in beta.
1 million.
Now, we throw these numbers around a lot, but the Geeky Gadgets analysis points out something crucial called context compaction.
Context compaction sounds like a trash compactor for data.
In a way, it is. Think about a long conversation you have with an AI. Maybe you're coding an app over a few hours. The history gets huge.
And usually, when you hit the memory limit, the model just starts to forget the beginning of the chat.
Exactly. It drops the early stuff to make room for the new. Sonnet 4.6 handles this differently. It uses context compaction to effectively create an executive summary of the older parts of the conversation.
It zips the file, so to speak.
Precisely. It keeps the gist, the decisions made, the variables defined, but it discards all the conversational fluff. This means it keeps the effective memory alive without clogging the system.
So it remembers the rules you set 3 hours ago.
That's the idea. It allows for these marathon sessions.
That explains the endurance.
Eh.
But what about the intelligence? The sources mention adaptive thinking. To me, that sounds a little like marketing fluff. Is there actual engineering behind it?
It is. It's a distinct architectural change, and it's the secret sauce for that price point.
Okay, explain.
Think about how you think. If I ask you, what's 2 plus 2,
Hmm?
you answer instantly. You don't burn any calories.
Right, the reflex.
But if I ask you to debug a recursive function in Python, or, I don't know, analyze a legal contract for loopholes, you stop. You go quiet. You actually engage slow thinking.
I have to turn the brain on.
Right. Traditional LLMs don't really do that well. They often use the same amount of compute for hello as they do for solve this physics problem.
They're always in fifth gear.
Exactly. Sonnet 4.6 uses adaptive thinking to dynamically allocate compute. If the prompt is simple, it runs cheap. If it's complex, it spins up more reasoning traces.
So it's managing its own resources.
It's essentially creating an internal monologue. It generates these thinking tokens that you don't even see, where it plans out the answer before delivering it. That keeps the average cost down to that $3 mark.
So it's not that the model is smarter all the time, it's that it knows when to be smart.
Which is a form of intelligence in itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we have a model that's cheap, doesn't get lazy, manages its own brain power. That sets the stage. But the feature that feels like the biggest leap, and the one that, I'll be honest, scares me a little, is computer use.
This is the frontier. This is where we move from chatbot to agent.
I remember trying this back in late 2024. It was, well, clunky is being polite.
It was error-prone.
It felt like watching a remote desktop connection on dial-up. It would try to click a button and miss by 10 pixels.
But the 4.6 update claims to have moved from experimental to human level on specific benchmarks. And we should clarify what computer use means here.
Right. Usually if I want to automate something, I use an API. Code talking to code.
Exactly. APIs are rigid. If Salesforce changes their API, your automation breaks. And if a piece of software doesn't have an API like some legacy desktop app from 2005, you're out of luck.
So how is Sonnet 4.6 different?
It uses vision-based automation. It literally looks at the screen. It takes a screenshot, analyzes the pixels, identifies the submit button, and then sends a signal to move a virtual mouse and click it.
So it interacts with software the way a person does, with eyes and hands.
Correct. It doesn't care if there's an API, it just cares if there are pixels. So it works on anything with a screen, a web browser, a spreadsheet, a proprietary internal tool.
The sources mentioned a score for insurance workflows. I think it was 94%.
That's right. On an insurance benchmark handling submission intake and first notice of loss, it hit 94%.
Okay, walk me through that. What does that actually look like?
Okay, imagine the workflow. You get an email from a client saying, I crashed my car. Attached is a PDF police report, a JPEG of the bumper. A human has to open the email, read it, download the PDF, extract the date, look at the photo, then log into a claims portal, search for a policy number, and type it all in.
The swivel chair work. Copying from one screen, pasting to another.
Exactly. APIs can't easily read a messy email or interpret a photo. Sonnet 4.6 navigates the browser tabs, extracts the info, and fills out the form.
But wait, 94% is great, but it's not 100%. If I'm an insurance company and the AI messes up 6 out of every 100 claims, that's a liability lawsuit waiting to happen.
And that is the current friction point. It's high enough to be useful, but low enough that you can't just leave it running unsupervised. It's best deployed as a drafter.
A drafter.
It does the work, fills the form, and then a human just reviews it and clicks submit.
So it turns the human from a doer into a reviewer.
Which is still a massive efficiency gain.
Okay, this brings us to the vending machines. Because clicking buttons is mechanics, knowing which buttons to click is strategy.
The Vending-Bench Arena.
I love that they build these little video game worlds to test AI. So explain this setup.
It's a text-based simulation. The AI is put in charge of a vending machine franchise. It has to make decisions every month: pricing, inventory, location. And it's playing against other AI models. The goal is simple: maximize profit.
Okay, standard business sim. Usually in these games, the AIs are hyper-aggressive. They price gouge immediately to get the score up.
That's the greedy algorithm approach. Maximize reward now. But Sonnet 4.6 did something that baffled the researchers. For the first 10 months of the simulation, it was losing.
Losing against the other AIs.
Badly. It was spending money like water. Buying more machines, upgrading tech, stocking up on premium inventory. Its cash reserves were dropping. If you were a shareholder, you'd be panicking.
You'd fire it. You'd say, why are we burning cash?
But the AI understood the horizon. It knew the simulation had a time limit. In the final few months, it pivoted. It stopped investing and switched to harvest mode. And it used that massive capacity it had built to generate revenue at a rate that competitors couldn't touch.
It sandbagged them.
It delayed gratification. That is a very high-level cognitive trait. It implies the model isn't just predicting the next word. It's maintaining a world model where it understands that current action A leads to future state B, even if the immediate reward is negative.
That is actually kind of spooky, because if it can plan a vending machine rollout, it can plan a marketing campaign.
It can plan a software migration. It suggests it can handle multi-horizon tasks, the prep work that doesn't look like progress but is necessary for the win.
But that initiative can cut both ways. There was a case study in the Geeky Gadgets report about Rakuten AI and iOS development that sort of highlights this.
Oh, this was a great example. The developers asked Sonnet 4.6 to generate some iOS code, standard request. But the model didn't just write the code. It analyzed the request and realized the architecture the humans suggested was outdated.
So it ignored the instructions.
In a way, yeah. It wrote the code, but it used modern Swift tooling that wasn't even in the prompt. It effectively said, I know you asked for X, but if you use Y, it will work better, and then produced code that was cleaner than the original request.
See, that's where I get nervous. I love the initiative, but sometimes I need it to do exactly what I say, even if it's wrong.
And that's the risk of an opinionated AI. It's acting like a senior engineer who thinks they know better. But in this case, the Rakuten team found the output superior.
It's also getting better at finding bugs, right?
Right. It's closed the gap with Opus on bug detection, which means you can run cheaper parallel code reviews.
Which brings up the safety question. If this thing is navigating the web, clicking buttons, and writing better code, what happens when a bad actor gets involved? What about prompt injection?
That is the nightmare scenario for these agents. If the AI is looking at a web page, it's vulnerable to visual prompt injection, that hidden text designed to hijack it.
So is Sonnet 4.6 any better at resisting that?
Fix is a strong word. It's a cat and mouse game. But Anthropic claims it's a major improvement over 4.5. It performs similarly to Opus now in safety benchmarks, which is reassuring for a cheaper model.
They also mention its personality in the safety report.
Oh, yeah.
Probably warm, honest, pro-social, and at times funny.
At times funny. I'm not sure I want my spreadsheet automation cracking jokes.
I don't know. I think we want them to be a little bit human. You're working with an agent for 8 hours a day. A robotic, I cannot do that, gets exhausting.
That's fair. A little conversational nuance lowers the friction. It keeps the illusion of collaboration intact.
Okay, so let's circle back. We have Sonnet 4.6. It's smart, it's cheap, it can use a mouse, it plans for the future.
Yeah.
So why does Opus still exist? Why is there an Opus 4.6?
That is the question everyone is asking. If the mid-tier is this good, who buys the top tier?
Exactly. Who is spending the $15?
And the answer seems to be in the edge cases. Sonnet 4.6 is brilliant, but Opus is for the deepest possible reasoning. We're talking about refactoring a massive, tangled code base where you have to understand dependencies across 20 different files without breaking anything.
So where the complexity is exponential.
Right. Or coordinating a swarm of other AI agents. When the cost of failure is catastrophically high and you need the answer to be just right, Opus is still the king.
So Sonnet is the high-performing manager who gets 95% of the work done, but Opus is the specialist researcher you bring in for the impossible problem.
That's a great way to put it, but that gap is narrowing. For 90, maybe 95% of use cases, Sonnet is now the default.
So let's zoom out. What does this mean for the person listening? We're not just talking about a faster chatbot anymore.
No, we're talking about the democratization of agentic workflows. Because the price is low and the capability is high, you can now afford to have an AI do things, not just know things.
It lowers the barrier to entry for automation. You don't need a team of engineers to build a custom API integration anymore.
You just need a model that can look at the screen and click the buttons. It changes the definition of software user. Soon, the primary user of your software might not be a human. It might be a Sonnet model acting on behalf of one.
That's a massive shift. And it brings me to a thought I've been having since I read about the computer use benchmarks.
Go on.
Well, we spend billions on UX design, user experience, making buttons big, fonts readable, workflows intuitive for human eyes.
Right, the principles of good design.
But if Sonnet 4.6 is achieving human-level capability at navigating these interfaces, does that mean we stop redesigning software for automation?
In what sense?
Well, historically, we stripped away the UI to make data machine readable. We built APIs because machines hate graphics. But if the machine can read the human UI perfectly,
Then maybe the human UI becomes the universal API.
exactly, the front end is the bridge.
That's a profound thought. Or maybe it goes the other way. If 90% of the traffic to a website is AI agents filling out forms, do we start designing dense interfaces? Tiny text, massive data density, no white space ugly for humans, but highly efficient for a vision model.
The AI-first interface.
Yeah.
We might see a bifurcation of the web, the pretty web for humans to browse, and the dense web for the agents to execute.
It gives a whole new meaning to responsive design, doesn't it?
You're not just resizing for a phone screen, you're resizing for a silicon brain.
It's the paradox of the human-like AI. By becoming more human, it might fundamentally change the digital world designed for humans.
Something to think about the next time you ask your AI to book a flight, and it just does it.
And honestly, I probably let it.
Me too. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Sonnet 4.6. It's a brave new world, and it's getting cheaper by the token.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you in the next deep dive. Take care, everyone.